The critics failed to imagine a world and their own preferences within that world for freedom machines that could take them from A to B at their convenience. Try accessing a permissionless, censorship-resistant network that doesn't have any borders and is international, it's global. Just try it. You won't go back.
Present Troy Cross.
Hi, everyone. It's an everyday occurrence for me to follow a very charming United States senator onto stage. I want to start with a question for you all. Who has kids? Oh, most of you, good. Any of you harbor any serious concerns about having children before you had them? Like maybe they would impact your work life, interfere with your friendships with single friends, otherwise hamper your goals? I had those doubts. I had plenty of them. And then I had kids. And those doubts were all legit. My kids were harder to raise than I had imagined. They impacted my life and made it more difficult than I had imagined. And yet, I think it's all worth it, and more than worth it. Anybody here regret having children? It's interesting, isn't it? The difference between your pre-child self, your values, your mindset, and your post-child self. There's a philosopher, Lori Paul, who's written about transformative experiences, and she thinks this poses a devastating problem for formal decision theory. Since neither perspective, your pre-child nor post-child perspective, is privileged, you're kind of stuck in deciding whether or not to have kids, or papers called What You Can't Expect When You're Expecting. And I think Lori's just wrong. I think the post-child perspective is a better one than the pre-child perspective. Pre-child, your perspective fails in its imagination, not just of the future, but of your future, yourself, and how you will change. And for me, this is a helpful framework for how I think about technology, especially transformative, disruptive technology. If we look back at the history of technology, these kinds of disruptive technologies like Bitcoin or AI or disruptive forms of energy production have always been met with a considerable amount of skepticism and sometimes hysteria. And I won't bore you with the details of this history, but we could take all morning talking about it. I like the bicycle and the objection to the bicycle because they seem utterly ridiculous now. People thought that people's faces got strained when they were on bicycles and their eyes bulged, and they thought that would permanently disfigure the faces, particularly of women. They were especially worried about women in cycling. The automobile is the most interesting one to me because reading through all these old objections to the automobile in the 1890s, a lot of them are just dead true. They thought the automobile would be more dangerous than the horse because it went really fast and you didn't have the assistance of the horse's intelligence to avoid accidents. Well, that's true. Cars have killed 60 million people. That's more than World War II. The worst nightmare of the anti-auto futurists came true. It's the actual truth. But we're all like, yeah, but I'm not giving up my car. Cars changed our world profoundly. We reorganized city planning around it, much to the chagrin of urban planners. The pedestrian, no longer the center of design, put us at a distance from each other, involved vast supply chains, pollution. And yet, all the car critics I know still have cars. The critics failed to imagine a world and their own preferences within that world for freedom machines that could take them from A to B at their convenience. Okay, coming back to the topic of this conference, my life, since 2011, I've been interested in Bitcoin. Since 2013, I've been talking about it. There's a post from one of my students in 2013 saying, Troy Cross can't stop talking about Bitcoin on Facebook. And my experience has been like someone who has kids talking to people who don't, but are thinking about it, and they see parents who are stressed, tired, overworked, and they think kids are no good. And my perspective has been one of a parent. And I have been saying to them, just try accessing a permissionless, censorship-resistant network that doesn't have any borders and is international, it's global. Just try it. You won't go back. Try saving in a non-debasable currency. But without trying that and living in that world, people have had an enormously hard time understanding. And the pushback I've gotten, both personally from friends and of course in the media and the political discourse over the past decade, it's been overwhelmingly negative. Bitcoin will use all the energy in the world, I've been told. It will heat the globe by 2 degrees centigrade over pre-industrial times all by itself, apart from all of human activity. It's going to be used for crime. And some of these are like the bicycle objection. They're just ridiculous. And others that have a grain of truth. Bitcoin did start with its first use case as the Silk Road, an illegal drug market. That's just true. But the critics failed to imagine an entire world with sound money. They fail to imagine an energy system that uses Bitcoin's flexibility and price sensitivity to scale up energy and make it cheap for everyone. And I think a lot of you in this room are in a very similar position to the one that I'm in and have been with respect to Bitcoin. We're all seeing something, imagining something, and we're witnessing a collective failure of imagination and trying to bring people on board. That's why I founded the Nakamoto Project, to try to help close that gap. That's why I work for the Bitcoin Policy Institute. I want to provide a little bit of a framework of what it means to not fear technology, because obviously technology can be dangerous and we make mistakes with it. The whole of science fiction tells us that, but also some of actual history of science. We awarded a medical Nobel Prize in 1949 to the inventor of the frontal lobotomy. We make mistakes. Mistakes were made. Not fearing technology doesn't mean a heedless march into the future, just trying stuff out. It means closing the imaginative gap between your present self and your future self so that you're not shocked by reality. There's some other sources of fear. They're not all easy to overcome. One is the negativity bias. Our brains are just biased towards the negative. Negative emotions, negative thoughts are more powerful, they have more force, they're more durable, and they actually are processed faster by our brains. Also, disruptive technology always has enemies, by definition. Also, we are cognitively lazy, and we don't think like engineers. We're social animals. We are tribal. These three work together. The entrenched interests can leverage fear and social networks to politicize technologies and associate them with identities rather than thinking them like engineers. And at the Nakamoto Project, in our surveys, in Cornell's survey, we are seeing some of the impact of this politicization of Bitcoin. It is starting to polarize along party and ideological lines. We got to stop that. There are a couple more sources of fear. One of them is that we just expect too much of technology. Some of us search for meaning or fulfillment or happiness in technology. That's not what it does. If you think the next wave of technology will make you happy or fulfilled, you're wrong. You need friendship. Maybe you need Jesus. You need something other than another gizmo in your life. But that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. For the people who are experiencing energy poverty, Eric Hersman's going to talk about next, having abundant, cheap energy at your disposal makes a world of difference to your life, and you're not going back. What does it mean to be free of fear and thinking about technology? It means not being subject to those biases. It means not thinking tribally. It means not resisting disruption to your comfortable life or playing along with someone else's disruption. It means not thinking socially, thinking like an engineer. It means not expecting technology to make you happy or fulfilled or find meaning in life. And finally, it means not failing to imagine the future. Thank you.